Hi, I'm Andy Kinder and today you join me on one of my favourite fisheries here at Maver and Dynamite Hayfield Lakes, where we've been doing a little bit of method feeder fishing. We're deeply into spring now, you know, the venues are warming up, the fish are certainly on the feed, and yeah, I just want to explain just a few things. You know, I get asked loads of questions and I just want to go through a few things on how I would approach a venue similar to this one or any commercial fishery that you guys are fishing when it comes to a method feeder approach through the warmer months, should we say, of the year, and we're not just looking for one bite. So here we are today at Hayfield. Couple of options I'm going to do. I had a shallow gravel bar which is right out in the lake where I know them fish are literally going to want to feed on it, so that is one of my main target areas. It's possibly 3 to 4 foot. It's a big gravel bar where they can drop over the other bank. So first thing I want to make sure I do is I've got the gear on that's going to land me the fish, get me the fish out, get me where I want to cast and everything. And for that today we've chose the MVR XX 10 foot carp feeder rod. 10 foot, brilliant length for most commercials. And it's solely designed for method feeder fishing and catching big carp. So, you know, the rod for a start, that's not going to let me down. I've tallied along with that the commercial 4,500 reel. It's not the smallest reel, we do a 3,500 in that, but I've gone for the bigger one. It gives me that little bit more winding power, the spool's bigger, it's easier for casting. There's double line clips on it. Should I need to clip up in 2 separate places, I can do. But I do like the bigger reels. The bigger reels are definitely a must-have thing for me, especially in my method feeder fishing, because I want that sheer winding power, and these reels will give me that. 024 main line, I think it's something like 10 or 11 pound, but low diameter. It's the MVR carp feeder mono. That's certainly not going to let me down, because gravel, we all know what gravel's like. They run over gravel, they can easily bush it off. Don't want that. And then you see we have got the 20 gram flatbread method, certainly putting a bit of bait in now this time of year. 20 gram method, and you can see we've got a wafter, 020 hook lengths, size 12, power airing hook. You can see we've got an orange wowser on the end. So, you know, that's all the hardcore gear, should we say, that we're going to use. And it's not going to let us down. And we're going to be chucking straight across over onto that bar. But, I might say, although we have got that one particular swim out there, the last thing we want to do in any match scenario is put all his eggs in one basket. And, you know, I fish a lot of feeder matches, and I think the biggest thing I've learned in all them matches is you must have other lines. You need another line. You need other options through the day where you can potentially catch them fish from. Now, we do know it's shallow out there. It's a beautiful day today. We've seen fish already on the bar and everything. But as another backup line, I'm going to be feeding 8mm pellets straight down the middle of the lake. And you'll see here, look, I've got a few pellets there. I'm going to be regularly feeding them in my catapult straight down the middle of the lake. That's into the deep water. It's got to be at least 10 or 12 foot there. Now, the fish might not want to feed in that water, but you're not actually losing anything feeding bait there. It's not a case of just chucking in with a feeder and sitting there praying. You're trying to make things happen. You're trying to make things happen, constantly ringing that dinner bell, pinging a few pellets out down the middle in the hope that, you know, these fish are certainly up shallow today in this warmer weather, and if you were in a feeder only match situation, you know, you might want to force them fish down to the bottom. So that's the plan of action. So I think we'll get out there and see if we can put what I've said into action. Right, let's load the feeder. Let's get out there. You can see I've got my 20 gram flatbed method. You see it's free running. I've got swivel stop bead at the back, link swivel on the bottom. That gives me absolute free movement all the way around. For the hook bait to act more naturally, you see I've got it bare netted. another little tip as well, you know, all you guys that fish wafters, wowsers, washters, whatever you want to call them, the bayonet way of attaching them is the only way to attach these baits. So, you know, any of you guys out there what are using bands, stop using them because you don't get the perfect presentation. So, right, I do like loading my flatbed methods by hand. So, this is how I do it. I've got a big base of pellets on there. My thumb's in the middle. Then bring my wafter up to the top like that. And it's just a case of putting a few pellets over the top, making it neat, any excess bait off. There we have it, look. Lovely feeder. Oh, I'm going to ping a few pellets because I have seen fish down the middle, so a couple of good pouchfuls. Look, you know, we're trying to force them fish physically through the column of the water. Let's put them pellets in, and then it's just a case of following them pellets. I hope you heard that plop. That went in with a lovely plop, that. That's so important on method feeder fishing. You need your bait intact to get to the bottom. You don't want to be crashing it off on the surface and things like that. It's like, it's not the done thing. Sinker's line. Nice and gently. We don't want to move that feeder now. We've got it in place. Gradually tighten it up. Takes a little bit of tightening in 10 foot of water, but we've got there. Right, there we have it. Traps, you know, trap set. The trap is set. And now it's just a case of, I still want to feed a few pellets straight over the top of that feeder what's gone in. I'm looking to encourage fishing to my peg all the time. I'm not sat there legs crossed. It's not winter time. It's not winter time. There's fish feeding, there's fish active. It's not a case of just being sat there like that waiting for a bite. We're just trying to encourage fish into the peg all the time. He who works the most, works the hardest, will be rewarded at the end of the day. Straight away I'm getting a few indications. That's somewhat what I expected. I expected to get signs, I expected to get indications because lots of fish are quite active in the upper layers. I'm not saying you've got to put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pellets in, but you do need to take them fish to exactly where you want them to be. So by just constantly like ringing that dinner bell, just keeping them pellets pinging in. Don't get me wrong, you might not go in and just instantly catch. You know, this might be a method that you might have to feed for 2 or 3 hours of your match, but suddenly when they turn up on it, or they turn up on the pellets and they turn up and they're wanting to feed, then you can go from 0 to hero in space of an hour. But it's a case of just remaining confident. Have confidence in your gear, have confidence in your baits, confidence in your tackle, and then you'll be rewarded. Just like that. So like I was saying, just having that confidence, just keeping them pellets going in. Till it's warming up. I've got a great big fly on me. But, you know, method feeder fishing, any type of feeder fishing, it's not always about just being sat there and praying. You don't need the prayer mat at times. Sometimes you've just got to make it happen. You have to You have to trigger them fish into feeding. Once them pellets have constantly fell past them, some's going to go to the bottom. So it's just a case of keep firing them in, keep putting a few in, keep ringing that dinner bell. You know, the pellets, when they rattle on the surface, it annoys them. It sends them daft. They get to know the noise of the pellets going in. Keep rattling them on the top. And you will be rewarded. See how big this one is. It's not a massive fish, but certainly 3 or 4 pound. Typical method bite, nice, proper pull round, positive. No need to strike at liners, it was a proper positive pull. I knew it was a bite. Here he is. Just like that. Oh yeah, there we are. Nice 4 pounder. Bang in the bottom lip, exactly where we wanted it. See if I can hold him up for you. There he is. Absolutely nailed on a method with a wafter over them loose fed pellets. Let's try and get another one. Right, let's get back out there and see if we can catch another one. So I have been feeding pellets. I've been feeding pellets down at the middle. I've caught one straight over that, but I'm going to have a chuck to the bar this time. I've seen fish over there. If this was probably a match situation, I would have been starting over across right on that shallow bar. I would have took the fish on the shallow bar first, and then hopefully then they would potentially have dropped down onto my pellets, which I've been feeding right from the very start of the match. But we had a little sneaky look there because we have caught some fish down the middle. So I'm going to chuck back across to that bar. I'm going to see whether we can sneak a big one off top of that bar. If not, it might be a little one, but you never know what's going to take you up. But the good thing about this setup, like I've gone through to you, it's equally at home casting across onto that gravel bar or for casting down the middle. You've got the best of both worlds in the 10-foot to XX carp feeder setup and the 4,500 reel. It will do both. And like I said, hook lengths and everything still exactly the same. So let's get this flatbed method loaded up. If you want to use a mould, you guys out there, you know, feel free. I'm never happy with a mould. I never have been. I've never been able to get on with them. But if you guys are more than happy to use a mould, by all means use a mould. I'm just a bit old school when it comes to using my hands, or I'm just getting too old, I think, basically. So here we have it. Look, we've moulded it up again. Look, you can see it's nice and firm, nice and compact. Right, let's get it out there. It can be a bit frightening out there, I might tell you, because of the gravel bar, the scaffold poles, and all sorts out there. But we are literally into about 3.5, possibly 4 foot of water out there, which is a lot shallower than down the middle. But exact same thing applies, you know, sink that line nice and steady. The last thing you want to be doing is moving that feeder now. Because any type of method feeder or hybrid feeder or whatever you want to use, soon as it lands on the bottom, it's starting to fish. The bait's been released off it more or less straight away. You've got to get it down in one piece, intact. And the last thing you want to be doing is moving it away from where your pellets are starting to break down off your feeder. So while we're hopefully waiting for that to go round, I've obviously got my secondary peg where, again, feeding pellets. And as long as they're in an area, I'm not trying to put them on a dustbin lid. As long as they're in an area and they're making that noise as they're going in, that's going to be encouraging fish into that deeper water, where hopefully you might get a really, really good run of fish late in your match. But that shallow bar, it's just a real sort of focal point for any carp to feed on. It's shallow, it's nice. They like to rub up on it, rub against it. Any features what you've got in any lakes. I know we've got the island there and things like that to cast to, but you know that is a feature right banging in the middle of the lake. What's totally different from everything round it, and it just appeals. It just draws fish. Don't get me wrong, they'll not always feed on it, but it is an area. There we go. But it weren't exactly what I wanted, but it were a bite. And it's just a little small stocky carp. Oh, it's not actually, it's a skimmer. Well, it just goes to prove that a method feeder will catch you everything. And there we have it, look. Skimmer. Not overly big, but it will still feed in among all them carp. And like I said, you never actually know what's going to take your bait. Well, there we go. Managed to nail one over on the bar. They drifted on and off it. They just don't seem 100% happy being on top of that bar. I think it's now with the sun being out. I just think it's just potentially they don't want to sit on it too long. Probably coming into that little bit cooler water. Nah, but well, we got one. Not a massive fish, but good enough. Good weight builder in a match. There he is. £3. Oh, it is, look, absolutely nail perfect bottom lip. What more could you ask for? Let's put him in the net. Right guys, well there you have it. A little bit of a tip to summertime, springtime, whatever you want to call it, when the weather warms up, method feeder fishing. I'll just recap on a couple of things I've done. Yep, we had the shallow bar. By all means start across there. They might be up there, they might be on it, they might be basking on that shallow bar. You might catch them all day, but always have that secondary line where we've fed pellets down that middle of the lake. They might not be on it for an hour, they might not be on it for 3 hours, but if they do tip up over them pellets and you go in with this type of setup, you're not just sitting and hoping and praying. You know, you're making something happen. You're rattling them pellets in. You're fishing a nice little pile of pellets over the top. They get used to them pellets falling, and as they drop down to the bottom, you've got a lovely pile of pellets and a really, really bright wowzer up bait, what's straight in the face, which they can't resist. And you know, on the days when they absolutely drop down on them pellets, massive weights can be achieved like that on numerous venues, not just here at Maver Dynamite Hayfield Lakes. You know, numerous venues across the country where you can get some big weights. So get yourself out there, Make sure your tackle's up to it. Make sure it's strong, it's sturdy, it's robust. It's not going to let you down. And keep bagging. That's all we can say. So till next time, guys, tight lines.